First case, because not everything is currently bad in the UK at the moment, is the 14th of September. We had the courts rule that non-binary and gender-fluid people are protected under the 2010 Equality Act. If you don't know much about the Equality Act in the UK, it's a piece of legislation that lays down certain protected categories, demographics, and it's become a rather hot topic at the moment because the TERFs read it one way, and then legal experts and the trans community read it a different way. TERFs believe it actually prevents trans people accessing gender spaces when it does no such thing. Now, a large part of this is the rather problematic language that is used in 2010. It isn't the clearest. The Equality Act isn't the clearest document ever. It states, to quote, "A person has the protected characteristic of gender reassignment if the person is proposing to undergo, is undergoing, or has undergone a process or part of a process for the purpose of reassigning the person's sex by changing physiological or other attributes of sex." Now, what bigots have argued, including the bigot who was being sued in this case, which was Jaguar Land Rover, they argued that these protections only cover people who have physically transitioned to the opposite gender. So it's got to be binary and it's got to be medicalized. Now, one interesting thing is the fact that the wording of this passage that I just quoted doesn't support that, as seen by the fact that it says, by changing physiological or other attributes of sex. If it was just medical, it would just state physiological. So by stating or other attributes of sex, it's suggesting that gender reassignment, as used in this legal document, is not gender reassignment surgery as is used in day-to-day discourse with other trans people. That's just one of the sad facts about legal documents. The way they use terms isn't always the same as how we use them colloquially. It's the same for science. Like the whole issue of desistance rates is based on the idea that, children desist from gender dysphoria. Okay, well, the science journal which reported that had a very strange definition of gender dysphoria, which was simply anyone referred to a gender identity clinic. So not someone who had been diagnosed with gender dysphoria. It's just one of those sort of things we've got to look out for. It should be noted that even before this case, the Equality and Human Rights Commission did note, to quote, "To be protected from gender reassignment discrimination, you do not need to have undergone any specific treatment or surgery to change from your birth sex to preferred gender. This is because changing your physiological or other gender attributes is a personal process rather than a medical one." So it was already cleared up by the Equality and Human Rights Commission, which is a governmental department, but it is separate to other governmental departments. So it was already clear, but it's nice that we now have legal precedent in the courts that say, yes, non-binary and gender fluid, as well as those who have not undergone medical transitioning, are protected under the 2010 Equalities Act. Is there anything you'd like to add to this, Levi? I feel like...
No, you did a very good job of explaining it.
Okay. We are still getting more people coming in. That's great. Jaguar Land Rover have an interest because they had a non-binary individual working at one of their garages, and they were the target of transphobic harassment. They filed a lawsuit, and Jaguar argued that you can't actually sue us because, again, they're not protected under the Equality Act 2010. However, that sadly isn't the case. Well, I say sadly for them. That isn't the case, thankfully, for us.